Welcome to Halo the Master Chief Collection, the panel at RTX. I'm super excited that all of you have joined us today during your lunch hour. We're really excited to be here, and we hope you're having an awesome RTX so far. We've got a lot of awesome stuff to talk about today, including Halo 2 Anniversary, as well as the entire Master Chief Collection. So I want to get started right away by introducing everyone who's up here on stage. My name is Andy Dudinsky. Most of my friends call me Bravo, and I'm Community Manager for Halo at 343 Industries. To my left is Dennis Rees. He is lead producer on Halo the Master Chief Collection, and also worth noting that Dennis served as lead producer on Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
To his left is Max Schlager. He's lead designer on Halo the Master Chief Collection. To his left is Max Hoberman, the original multiplayer and online design lead for Halo 2. Max is also president of Certain Affinity, who is Austin's own top game development studio.
Yeah.
And to Max's left is David Mertz, who is lead multiplayer designer on Halo 2 Anniversary. So when I was first asked to moderate this panel, I got really excited because not only do we have four awesome guys on stage with us here, but they're also building some really great experiences within the Master Chief Collection. So to start off, Dennis, I'd love to just talk about everything that's packed into this game.
Yeah, there's so much here. So, when we started thinking about Master Chief Collection, it's just we wanted the entire Master Chief saga. So you're going to get Halo CE Anniversary, you're going to get Halo 2 Anniversary, Halo 3, Halo 4, as well as the live-action digital series executive produced by Ridley Scott called Halo Nightfall. And then lastly, but not least, is the Halo 5 Guardians multiplayer beta. So there's a ton of content in here, and we're really excited for it to come out this November.
Yeah, I think actually we're ready to jump right into things. And Max, I think we have a build of the Master Chief Collection running right now on Xbox One. Can you walk us through some of the philosophy behind the master menu and some of the menus themselves?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and switch over
let's
to
go ahead
that.
And switch it over. And
Cool.
Get a controller over here.
Let's get him a controller.
All right, Isaac.
Isaac!
Do we have audio?
Yes,
Okay,
magic.
we're good. Great. Thank you, Andy. So I want to talk through some of the ways in which we're bringing in nostalgia as well as a unique look for the unified menu for this particular game. So one of the subtle touches that you'll notice as you browse the menus in the game is you'll get your music cues from each game as you browse Halo 1, Halo 2, and you'll also notice the backgrounds, again, will be sensitive to the game that you're looking at the particular time that you're moving through the menu there. So again, they change each time. And this is going to be reflected in each part of the game, so campaigns, multiplayer, and something a bit unique for each one. So just a way we're trying to make the experience of browsing Master Chief Collection really exciting and bring you some of that nostalgia. Now, we talked about playlists before. I wanted to talk a little bit about the philosophy behind how we thought about some of these playlists. And specifically, we've talked about cross-game. In this case, though, let's talk about the particular game that we're doing our anniversary treatment for. So Halo 2, here's a sampling of some of the playlists that we're thinking about for this particular game. So in the past, some folks who really love a hardcore challenge, they would do things like the Lazo campaign, for example. Now, that's a particular configuration where you've got the game on Legendary, all skulls on, and people know how to set that up. We wanted to curate this and make it something that basically is more discoverable for everybody out there, and then also to recognize the achievement associated with doing that. So we're thinking of a number of different ways to reward people for playing through that playlist. There's some other ones on here that are a good example of ways in which we think about it, because we think about these in terms of themes. And so one of the great things about Halo 2, you played as the Arbiter, you played as Master Chief. So we actually have a combination of levels that plays specifically for the Arbiter back to back. That's a new experience because if you remember in the original campaign, you actually were doing them interspersed from one to the next. So that's a pretty cool way to think about it. And the flip side of that, of course, is the Master Chief journey, which, again, it's those particular chief levels back to back. Now, another collection that we have here is fan favorites, just some of the missions that people particularly enjoyed playing on this one. And there's going to be a variety of these types of playlists that call out basically some of the particular highlights of the game and great moments in them. Now, another key piece to remember for Halo 2 Anniversary is for the first time ever, we're going to have online co-op play through this campaign. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Now, I'd also like to speak a little bit to how we think about curating the multiplayer experience. With 100 multiplayer maps, a lot of great game types available to you, how are you going to find the best of the best? So here's a sampling of some of the multiplayer playlists that we're thinking about. And you're going to see a wide range of content here. Now, one thing I do want to clarify is you notice when I go through these, there are some that are dedicated to each title. So yes, there is one for Halo 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Halo 2 Anniversary. As well as some cross-game ones, and there's a kind of a few different ways we think about these cross-game ones. So in one particular case, we have a very broad range of content here, right? So Team Slayer, this particular multiplayer playlist has a wide variety of content in it.
Nice.
Now that's to get back to some of the spirit of what it felt like to be in multiplayer at a time when, while we will have voting, we want to make sure that a lot of those maps that maybe, didn't get as much discoverability back in the day, we'll bubble them up. And, having 4 games worth of content there is a great way to really bring that vibe back to these playlists. Another thing that we think about is rotational playlists. So in this particular case, we have a rotation of, some of the best SWAT maps across these particular games. And you'll notice this particular list is shorter than the other one because, again, these are curated to be specifically the best maps for SWAT across all these different games. So you may be wondering, how exactly, do you have a seamless experience as you go from one of these titles to the next, because things have changed over time, right? Dual wielding, equipment, loadout, sprint, all these different things. So one of the things that we thought about in unifying this package is our universal control schemes. So we haven't talked about this, and this is something that we wanted to give you a brief demo of, but you can customize your controls for each title, for each option individually, and we have the option for these things to, for example, apply a setting like, let's say, your sensitivity, and with the press of a button, you can apply that setting to every single title in the collection. The other cool thing about this is we have universal control schemes. So here's an example of one for you, and in this particular case, the goal with these is to unify what an action, how that action occurs across games. And we did a lot of digging on this, and we really feel like we have a number of control schemes that are going to work across all the games. That said, again, if you really want to get in there and have a custom one for a particular game, you're always welcome to override that. You can have everything customized per title for all these options, however you like. So that's how we think about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Max. So something that we mentioned on stage at E3 is that Halo 2 Halo 2 is getting that full anniversary treatment. And Dennis, I want to talk a little bit about what, both in terms of campaign and multiplayer, what that means for Halo 2.
Well, when we started thinking, like the anniversary treatment, we really looked back to Halo 1 anniversary and what did we do there? And right off the bat, from a campaign perspective, obviously you just need to remaster the campaign. So we worked with Saber Interactive again, who worked on Halo 1 anniversary, and they're completely remastering all the graphics, and it looks incredible. Additionally, we also wanted to do some of the other fan favorite things that were like skulls. We added tons of skulls to Halo 2 anniversary. So yes, all of the existing skulls that were there are still there, but then we added a ton. So there's actually over 30 skulls that are available now in Halo 2 Anniversary. Additionally, we really thought about, the audio. The audio is completely remastered in Halo 1 Anniversary. We wanted to do that again, and we're doing it in a very big way, and I'm excited to talk more about that at Comic-Con, so get excited, because there's some really cool stuff we're doing on the audio side. Additionally, terminals. Now, terminals in Halo 1 Anniversary, we hid them all throughout the game, and then when you'd get to a terminal, you would unlock a video and learn more about the franchise. Well, we're doing a lot of the same thing here, and you're going to be able to learn the story, the backstory of the Arbiter. So that's something I think that everyone's going to be really excited. And then also Blur. So in cinematics, telling the Halo 2 story is just a huge story. And there's like over 50 minutes of cinematics. So we contacted Blur Studios, who actually had worked with us before. They worked on Halo Wars. So if you're familiar with the Halo Wars cinematics, it's pretty incredible. And Blur has been working with us to remaster all of those cinematics. So they're going to look incredible. As far as multiplayer, really, first things first, we had to make sure we included the original multiplayer, something we didn't do with Halo 1 Anniversary, so we definitely made up for that here, and we included the original multiplayer. Yeah. But we knew Halo 2 was so well known for its multiplayer, we wanted to do something different, something unique. And so we contacted Max Oberman from there at Certain Affinity, and we asked him for some help. And our major goals were, number one, we really wanted to expand upon that sort of core Halo 2 experience. We wanted to make sure that whatever we created was true to how Halo 2 was back then. And then also we wanted to create the definitive version of each of the remastered maps, as we're remastering 6 of the most nostalgic multiplayer maps, and we wanted to make sure that we stay true to how those played and how they feel. And we didn't just want this to be a remake, right? We wanted this to be an upgrade, and that was really important for us. And so I know Certain Affinity, and Max especially, spent a lot of time making sure that would be the case.
Cool, thank you, Dennis. One thing, since we do have Max Hoberman with us, I'd love to take kind of a step back and look at Halo 2 and why we're here celebrating the 10-year anniversary. I mean, Halo 2 was such a pivotal game, I think, for everyone on stage. For me, I can say there's no way I'd be up here and working on Halo if it wasn't for Halo 2 and my career. And I mean, year after year, it was the most popular game on Xbox Live. And for many people, it was also an introduction, to online multiplayer, not just on console, but I think all up. Max, can you tell us a bit about how you got involved specifically in Halo 2 development?
Yeah, sure. So let's see. First of all, just a quick side note. I just want to commend these guys for the effort of pulling together all these different games with this unified UI and matchmaking, all these things. It's when they told me what they were planning when we first started this project, I told them they were crazy. So, but it's awesome, and it's
We're
really
still crazy, Max.
So, still crazy. So this particular project has a ton of significance for me. Halo 2, there's a ton of nostalgia, I guess you'd say. I was actually at Bungie before Microsoft acquisition days, working on the early Halo games, but just helping out a little bit on the side. After we got acquired, I ended up starting up the community team at Bungie. So I was running all the community relations type stuff that Bungie does. And then my group was also handling the user interface design. So we did the user interface design for Halo 1. And all along, all those years, I kept telling them that I want to do multiplayer design, and I really want to be a designer. So I think this is common knowledge. I don't know how much it's been talked about, but what we actually shipped for multiplayer for Halo 1 was not what we were originally imagining for Halo. It was kind of something that we crammed in real quick at the last minute. Didn't have a lot of time, and what we had planned was very different. And it was really impressive how crazy popular it was and how fun it was in LAN parties. And honestly, it kind of caught us by surprise a little bit. So when we started on Halo 2, and I was actually still on the community team until about 6 months in, and the team is basically, they were regretting that, the dev team was regretting that they hadn't shipped the original big mega round-based 32-player, type thing that we had originally envisioned. So that was the plan for Halo 2 multiplayer, is that it was going to be this big thing that I think we were calling it warfare internally. And for about 6 months, that was the plan, and I kept telling everyone, but everyone's playing Halo 1 style, this arena combat, this real fast-paced, small maps, LAN party type experience, and everyone's having a great time. Shouldn't we just take that online? And no, we don't want to do that. We do something new. We want to do something new. That's old. So I just kept making a lot of noise about it, and eventually I guess Alex and Jason, who are the two founders of Bungie, came to me and they said, hey, we think we should have the small scale stuff. You've convinced us. Why don't you take care of that? We'll call that the party game. That'll be for LAN parties, and then we'll go do this big, warfare thing separately. So, okay. So then I fought really hard to get one dedicated resource, which was Chris Carney, one environment artist. So finally got one dedicated resource, and Carney and I went to town. Well, meanwhile, this big, epic multiplayer thing was supposedly happening. I was still on the community team. So fast forward about 6 months, and we had actually laid a groundwork for the multiplayer for the game. A bunch of the maps that you guys know and love, actually, we had planned out and even implemented in their kind of early forms and designed, and we were playing it, and we were having a great time. And 6 months later, the big mega game was no further than a single piece of paper. So eventually, they came to me and they said, hey, we're cutting warfare, and you're going to be in charge of multiplayer, and you're doing everything. So I ended up being in charge of everything multiplayer, design-wise, online design, you name it. So that's kind of how I got sort of full-time involved in development.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk about some of the first things that you did once Halo 2, kind of this arena multiplayer was locked. What was the first onset? Was it designing those maps? What was the first thing that really was the first step?
Yeah, it was funny because a lot of Halo 2 was born out of this sort of desperation of just having me and Chris Carney, and that was it. We really didn't have a lot of resources. I didn't even have a dedicated programmer for gameplay-related stuff. So we just knew that there was really no room for error with such a small group. So we laid out our plans. I think originally we laid out our sort of master plan. We need X number of maps that do serve these groups. It was interesting because on the large scale, the really big stuff, 16-player, we didn't actually think we needed much for that because we thought, the warfare is going to take care of that. So we tended to focus on the smaller scale maps and some of the kind of medium-sized maps and a lot of the arena maps. So yeah, just in our early designs, I put together a document that laid out all of our maps and laid out names actually for we didn't know what the maps were going to be, but all right, this is going to be a 4-player map that supports CTF, or this is going to be a 5-player, 6-player map that supports Team Slayer or something like that. And I gave all those maps names, and a lot of those names actually stuck in the map designs too. Like, let's see, Lockout was one of the very, very first ones we did. I know everybody loves Lockout. Let's see, Lockout, Ivory Tower, Midship, Ascension. Those were 4 of the very first ones that within like 6 months we had them all up and playable, and they didn't change that much over the course of the project. And 3 of those 4 names actually stuck. The only one of those 4 that changed was Ivory Tower. When we did it on paper originally, was originally called Cyclotron, thank you. Cyclotron. Yeah, and then we made this like fancy penthouse suite at the top of a tower, and we're like, that looks nothing like a cyclotron, so we had to change it. So we renamed Ivory Tower in honor of what everyone called Marty O'Donnell's private office. We called it the Ivory Tower. So that was how that map got its name.
Awesome. Speaking of those original paper designs, you've been so kind to dig into the archives and give us a few of those, which I think a lot of us are going to be seeing for the first time if we want to switch over to some of these map designs and talk a little bit about how Midship changed and some of these maps changed from the paper design.
So this one's a lot of fun. This is Midship, and Midship is the very first map that I ever designed, like put pen to paper and designed. This is Chris Carney's version of, he took it over and redid my layout, but this was Chris Carney's version of the layout, and Midship just blows my mind that it became so popular. I think it became one of the most popular among all the competitive players also.
Yeah, it was the only map, I think, in Halo history to serve every tournament game type. So free-for-all, oddball, King of the Hill, Assault, Slayer, everything. So it's, it became pretty universal.
When I was working on Midship originally, I had this, my spec called for, basically I wanted to have a 2-on-2 CTF map, because I figured, all right, we're going online, but there's going to be a bunch of people who still don't have the internet back then. This was a while ago. So anyway, I was like, all right, but CTF is so much fun, and I'd love for people just playing 4-way split screen to be able to play a CTF game. So I'm going to do a 2-on-2 CTF map. So the basic idea on this map was that you'd have 2 flags basically across a chasm looking at each other, and they were so close that the one guy goes on offense, one stays on defense, and the guy that's back there on defense can still participate on offense. So he can lob grenades across, he can still shoot across. Yeah, and this is pretty close to what the final map ended up as, and we did this like 2 years before the game shipped, actually.
That's awesome. And we've also got an early Ascension, which similarly to Midship does look a bit different just in terms of the map layout.
This was actually a rework of Ascension, because Ascension, which we're showing off here, and turned out to be a really popular map. Ascension almost got cut, because when we first did Ascension, it was really not any fun. It had a similar problem to Lockout, which is that all of the traffic routed through that dish in the middle, and there was no way to get to any of the 3 satellites without going through that dish. So the map just wasn't working. So this is actually my drawing when I got my hands on it, and I was proposing some changes to kind of make it work, and adding these peripheral lower paths around the outside, which weren't there originally. The leap of faith was, you can see, I wanted to have this spot where you jump down. If you look up in the left, you see it says fog right there.
Yeah.
That's some awesome drawing.
Nice fog.
The idea was, for the leap of faith, actually, that you'd run up and you'd look down, and all you would see was a bank of fog, and then you just have to jump down through the fog and hope you landed it. So that was what that was indicating. So yeah, this one, after we made these changes, it totally turned around the map, so got a lot better.
And this next one that we're going to go to right after this slide is, I think, a last-minute addition. We just got this paper design in this morning, and I'm sure it's also a fan favorite.
Oh, Zanzibar. So Zanzibar's kind of interesting, and just a side note, this panel's interesting for me because these guys all have stuff they're talking about the product, and they just asked me to come here and reminisce about Halo 2 development days, so this is kind of fun. Zanzibar was really interesting. What happened with Zanzibar is after we did a E3 where we showed off single-player New Mombasa, and then the following year, about maybe 2 months before E3, Pete Parsons and Jason Jones came to me and they said, "Hey Max, we have a problem. The single player is so on fire. We have so many problems. We can't afford to spend any time working on anything for E3 for the campaign. So we need you to show off something multiplayer for E3." So I was, okay, sure. So I said, all right. We started looking at what we had, and we realized that we really didn't have anything that we thought was sexy enough for E3. So we kind of scrambled. All of a sudden, we had a bunch of additional resources to make something. So we sort of scrambled, and this is the paper design for Zanzibar that we did. And we built it, this whole thing, start to finish in less than 2 months, specifically for E3, with all the crazy dynamic elements and all that stuff. None of those features were supported up to that point. All the dynamic lighting from the wheel turning, all that stuff we crammed in at the last minute. Took it to E3 and had it playable. And we had a great show. And one of the reasons for that, one of the things that I really wanted to do with Halo was really focus on adding game modes that were round-based, sort of single objectives, so like single flag CTF, single bomb assault, that sort of thing. So we looked at it and we said, this is a kind of fun game mode, but we don't have a map that's really designed around, around this kind of round-based single objective. So that's where we came up with Zanzibar and really kind of went to town on it. So yeah, this is cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Max. I think I'd love to move now forward and fast forward 10 years later to designing Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. And one of the coolest things that I heard when I first heard this project was in the works. Not only did I not believe that we were going to pull it off, but also hearing that we had commissioned you and your team to look at Halo 2 multiplayer and say, what are the things that you would have liked to have done 10 years ago that might not have been able to? And also hearing that your team now has that opportunity is pretty exciting too.
Yeah, so yeah, there are a couple of things. At the start of the project, I sat down with Dave Mertz here and the rest of the team, and we talked a bunch about stuff, but I'll probably let Mertz speak to some of the things that we've added that I wanted to add back in the day and couldn't.
Thanks, Max. I think we're going to throw up the build.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a little bit more of a sense.
So what you guys are going to see, what we're going to have loaded here. Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Yeah.
What you guys are going to see is the latest development build. This is the build in the raw. So any
Hot off the presses.
Yeah, really hot off the presses, literally. So if any strangers or issues, we apologize. But no, this is the build. So.
Yep.
So this crowd is in for a real treat. We showed this at E3, but you guys are going to get the really the most detailed walkthrough of the map, the first detailed walkthrough of the map. So, you know, like Max said, when we started the project, there was a huge number of decisions that we had to make. You know, we sat down with Max. We really went over the things that worked, the things that didn't work, kind of his wish list items, those types of things. Really, the first thing was the hardest decision was what 6 maps. And as you can see, Ascension here made the cut, obviously. So what I'd like to do is just kind of walk through a map a little bit. So first of all, you guys will notice the updated visuals. Now, I'm going to talk to the visuals just for a little bit as it relates to design, and then we'll kind of get into some of the wish list items and some of the other stuff that kind of was the results of the feedback that we got from talking with Max, as well as just all the research and everything that we do, listen to community and listen to the fans. Obviously, you know, with Xbox One, thank you. With the Xbox One, we're able to do an incredible amount of visual fidelity, but there's a challenge there. We found very quickly early on in the project that we're sitting here, we're making the map super sexy, we're really pimping them out, but what happens is you start to get a lot of visual noise. And some of our basic kind of really design goals are that any change cannot affect gameplay. So that even goes for visuals. The things that visuals can do is they can really start to muddy really the gameplay. And well, how does that happen? Well, target acquisition. Just a lot of noise and level. People not knowing paths, those types of things. So you know that was a big challenge we really tackled head on. So let me kind of point out some of the key visuals here. And a lot of it really deals with we wanted to just immerse you even more in the levels. You can see here. So what our artists did here, obviously we have a beautiful skybox with the halo ring rotating around it. They basically created a halo ring that's to scale in game. And that's what you're seeing right now. It's pretty fantastic.
Can you drop down there and run around?
Yeah. So
Show us, prove it.
totally do that. What I can do is give you guys a much better view of it, just to kind of give you a fantastic view
Jump
of
on
just
the
how
ledge,
much
Merce,
work,
to see how good you are.
how much work went into this. So we're over here about a leap of faith. Oh, I'll jump. Okay, I'll jump.
Nice.
And you just don't really realize just how incredible the visuals are until you.
Oh.
So. Huge, just hats off to our artists. They've done a fantastic job. So obviously there's a lot of other things you guys can see, and I'll move through this pretty quickly. Just incredibly detailed terrain, natural features. The Forerunner structures are just gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous. So let's move on to the gameplay stuff a little bit. You know, when we got together and we talked to Max, you know, there were a couple things at a high level that we wanted to do with the maps. There's a lot of skill that's involved. There's a really nice skill gap in Halo 2. And people love to know the trick jumps, to know these different paths, to do this type of stuff. So what we really tried to make sure was that we maintained those. That was really important, that we maintain all the skill jumps from in the original maps. In addition, we wanted to add more. So you know, all your classic skill jumps and those types of things will be in the map, including some additional skill jumps. Now this is a pretty standard one. And then just really small things, because really the most important thing here is that every single change, no matter how small, has got to add to the gameplay. It has absolutely got to add to the gameplay. Every single thing that we did to the game had to be a home run. Anything that was 50-50, anything that was kind of like, meh, no, cut. Everything had to move the game forward. So just simple things like this. For those of you that are familiar with the sniper rifle platform here, so you know you could drop down here before, right? Well, what we wanted to do was for skilled players, they can get up here from another route. So we've seen a lot of really, truly skilled players actually jump up that path, flank their opponent, and it's just fantastic. It's just really subtle things like that have really added a lot to the game. I'm going to go through here and show you guys a couple other really, really important paths that we have changed. Because we know everyone really wants to see the map and kind of see all the changes that we've done. So I'm really excited to kind of show you guys that stuff. So here's the Banshee platform. Again, fantastic view of the vista. So something that really kind of came out of the feedback with Max when we were talking about the map was the sky bridge does not really get used a lot for obvious reasons. It's really kind of one big circular loop, travel loop. There's not a lot of cover. So, and when you're out there in the middle of the sky bridge, your options are really limited. You can't really bail out very easily. So what we thought we'd do is we thought we'd do a couple really subtle things. So everyone always thought that the connection here was kind of awkward. So what this did is we added some additional space here, we did some modifications, and it just played fantastic. People like the additional space to fight. They like being able to approach the Banshee platform in a different way. And then most importantly, one reason that people really didn't use the Skybridge a lot was they would get sniped from Big Tower, and that's fine. And what's really important about all these changes is that we've got to maintain the original spirit of the map. The original gameplay of the map, the original spirit of the map. The map, Halo 2 in general, and this map in particular, is really about the zone control, about controlling the big tower, about controlling the small tower. So we don't want to take that away from players, but we want to give the other players a chance to counter the people that hold these power positions. So you can see we've added some additional cover while running along here from the big tower. And then really one of the biggest changes is we added this entire center kind of platform structure here. And it's fantastic. People really get a chance to kind of fight in here. It gives them a lot more tactical advantages or tactical strategies they can do. And then, of course, this was originally an original skill jump. And, of course, I botched it. That's how you can tell it's a live build, when the lead designer is not paying attention and botches a skill jump, and I'll probably hear about that from QA on Monday. So what we did is we made this skill jump a little easier, but what's great is we noticed the more skillful players are now able to do this jump backwards. They're able to do all this type of stuff. So we haven't taken anything away, and we've added stuff, especially for your less skilled players or your more casual players. And by having this additional structure here, it's just really played well. It's so subtle, but it's just really worked out fantastic in terms of adding additional cover when you're trying to approach either way, either approaching the Banshee platform or attacking the big tower. There's a lot of other changes that we did. For instance, there weren't not a lot of long-range weapons around this area. We added a Covenant carbine here. It gives you a little bit to counter the BRs and the sniper rifle. Let me go up here to the big tower. So I think really one of the biggest things that we identified in this map, when talking with everyone, getting feedback, with talking with Max, is just the dominance of long-range combat in this level. So there's a number of things that we tried to do to kind of help along with this. We adjusted spawns, we added additional cover. I think one of the biggest changes, though, and the thing that I'm most excited about, is we've really tried to add a lot of dynamic elements into the maps. And what's neat about this?
Wait, have you shown this yet?
No, this is the first time anyone's seen
Are you sure this is okay, Dennis?
Wait, I didn't think you were going to show this, Dave. All right, okay.
Do you guys want to see this? I didn't know we were showing this either, but there goes.
Can't pull back
No,
now.
now we're showing it. We're showing it now.
So, when talking with Max, one of the wish list things for Max, and Max can verify this, is he wished that they had done. He wished that they had done a lot of the more dynamic stuff, like in Zanzibar. The bridges, the wheel, those types of things. Those people find those things exciting. So something that we've done with this map in particular is we have added an energy shield in the middle.
Throw a grenade.
So not only is it gorgeous, it blocks gunfire, it blocks projectiles, and what's really fantastic about this is, well, when you get into kind of Koth in the middle of this map, it gets insane. I mean, it's like Thunderdome inside there. But what's really important about this is there are three control panels around the map. And when it comes up, players can basically activate this, and they can provide cover in the middle for their teammates, whether they're running around it or whether they're inside of it. And what that really does is it gives players just another really interesting tactical advantage that they can do. And it's just been fantastic to watch people hit the shield and then assault the big tower, assault the small tower. It's just been really, really exciting to see that type of stuff. And this is really, to go at a high level, this is the type of stuff that we're doing across all the maps, even though we haven't announced what the maps are yet. But you can expect to see this type of stuff. Really taking Zanzibar and spreading that throughout, kind of levels, as well as, going just above and beyond things like plasma coils and those types of things, really trying to up the interactivity and stuff in the levels.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
I think I'd love to go right from there, talking about how important it is maintaining, everything about the core Halo 2 experience. I'd love to get right into talking about the sandbox and how you did that with the challenges associated with an updated engine, working at 60 frames and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can speak to that. When we're, do you have the?
Yeah, it's right here.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. So when we're discussing the gameplay, what we're really talking about is the sandbox. And for those that aren't familiar with the term, the sandbox encompasses all the mechanics that form the core gameplay, really the heart of the game. Everything outside of the levels. So we're talking player movement, incredibly important in Halo 2. Weapons, equipment, and vehicles. Now, most importantly also, it includes all the game modes, variants, and related options. And that is something that we have really, really expanded upon. We've added a huge number of game modes and related game options. So really, when all this stuff kind of comes about, we come up with our goals. And the goal for for Halo 2 MP anniversary was to recreate the original H2 sandbox with targeted enhancements. And that's a very, very important phrase there, is targeted enhancements. You heard me talk about this issue when I was running around Ascension. We took an incredible amount of care, not just recreating the sandbox and the levels in the game, but also vetting every single change, no matter how minor, that went into the game. And I think it definitely shows in the final product. I think all the play testers would agree. So out of the goals, to kind of speak more to your question, Andy, design pillars really come out of what those goals are, what that particular goal is I just talked about. And really, our design pillar can really be summed up in a very simple sentence. All of our design decisions must promote teamwork, tactics, and game mode customizability. It's really as simple as that. And everything that we do, every change that we make, whether it be in the levels or whether it be in the sandbox that we're talking about, everything gets tested against that goal, against those pillars. So there were a huge number of challenges naturally, with recreating the H2 sandbox. We had to recreate everything. Everything is based on Halo 2 Retail Auto Update 3. So that was our base. And we had to recreate the movement behaviors. That's the speed, the jump. I know we spent weeks just trying to get the jump right, trying to get that perfect apex for the lofty jump. Dual wield, very first thing we did, probably the first day of starting on the project, was we started implementing dual wield. I'd have to say, once dual wield got in, that's when it really started to feel like Halo 2.
Yeah.
And it was a really neat day. First time I got dual wield up. The Elite is awesome. We had to bring him back in. This was a character we had to. Thank you.
Yeah, it's big.
We had to add in this entire character that had not been in the game, for quite a long time, as well as, visually update him and really kind of fix a lot of the issues that people had run into previously. And then, the biggest thing is recreating the game modes and options. That's a huge amount of work, as anyone will tell you, just a huge, huge amount of work. So as far as kind of the decisions on improvements and additions, we really had to kind of challenge ourselves to find a way to improve Halo 2 multiplayer. Some would say it's perfect, and I agree with that to a certain extent. So we really did very targeted changes, and I talked about that before, and again, I talked about how all that was vetted against our design pillars.
Cool.
One thing, Andy, that's really interesting to me about that, having been in charge of all these different things, these map designs and a lot of this game modes and everything else, it's just crazy. I've come to the conclusion that it's far, far more difficult to recreate something to this exacting standard than it is to actually just do it the first time around. Because first time around, when I wanted to put a weapon down or change a spawn point or timing or anything, I just made the change. Now these guys, every single change, they have to go back and think about the consequences and how it relates to my original haphazard decision making. And it's a monumental task, and I think I tell these guys all the time, I'm like, I don't understand how much, I didn't anticipate how much work this would be, but testament to the team that they're doing such an amazing job at it. It's coming together really, really well.
Absolutely, yeah. Playtests are so much fun, yeah.
I think it really speaks to that point we talked about earlier about Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer being an upgrade, not just a remake. And I think the fact that David and you and your team are so in tune with what those changes mean to every aspect of the gameplay, I think is important. And I know the fans are really going to appreciate that. Along with that, and talking about, Max, how much work is required, how important is testing. I mean, when we get builds here, you know, all the pro players back home and Frank O'Connor, when we're lucky, we're all play testing every day. And it's incredible to see map geometry change and how the sightlines tweak and the feedback coming in from all different areas, and then we see these maps evolve. How important is testing on your side?
Oh, testing's critical. I mean, especially when you're trying to nail the feel of Halo 2. I mean, it is one of probably the most important thing that we do outside of actually implementing the game, absolutely. You know, I was sitting here talking to some folks the other day. We were only a few weeks into really the project, maybe 2-3 weeks, and we already had the core game up and running, and we had Ascension, a very rough version of Ascension we brought over, you know, from that point we started playing. And we have been playing every single day since that 2 or 3 weeks into the project, sometimes twice a day. When we want to test both the sandbox and levels in the same day. But I mean, that is what we have been doing every single day, and we'll continue to do that up until we ship. And in addition, on the 343 and Microsoft side, yourself and everyone else, you guys are testing, and between those two things, I think we have probably the most insane amount of test coverage that I've ever seen on a single project, even on just our section of the game. So it's been really fantastic.
Yeah, you can ask Dennis. I'm testing probably 8 hours a day and not doing anything else.
Yeah, he's not joking. I mean, Andy's been one of the key people that, you know, the whole pro team actually that works at 343 comes and they play regularly.
Fantastic job.
And the feedback is critical, right? Because there's a lot of those details that Max is mentioning, trying to create is so difficult that these, you know, all the pro team and the hardcore fans out there, they know what those are. And so they can really point to where they exist, and it really helps Certain Affinity kind of tune the map to make sure this feels like Halo 2.
That's a rough job you've got, Andy.
Oh, no, it's really tough. I'm surprised I still have the job, but I just write it off as testing each day. Just 4v4 matches on Ascension. Yeah.
So speaking of testing, we have just outside witness. We have one of our lead testers in the audience on the project. Hey, Ryan, why don't you stand up? Woo! Yeah, Ryan. Woo! Ryan Fox. So Ryan, tell us how often do we play test?
Oh man, we play test for an hour and a half a day for every single day, and we try to do at least one a day. We'll do 4v4 matches, Slayer. We'll play game mode. So every single day, and it's not exactly the easiest thing getting some of the people in there. But we get in there, we drag them by the ear and get them to play this out. They have a blast. So it's a staple of what we do at Certain Affinity. So.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ryan.
Just want to say at 343, we never actually have a problem filling up our play tests. We usually actually have to turn some people away. So
That's been a problem lately,
yeah.
especially as it gets polished.
Good.
Oh.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about that is just coming into the project after, you know, on the test side, just giving feedback from the community team feedback, coming in several months into the project. When we fired it up for the first time, I mean, the Halo 2 jump is a good example across the board of how the game feels, and you know, I think everyone's going to be pretty excited to get their hands on it. We have a little bit of time left. I want to move through a few more things and a few announcements. Let's talk a little bit about game types. Max, you talked before about Zanzibar and how one flag CTF, you know, is perfect on that game type, and something that you and I talked about is how Halo 2 obviously was the introduction of a lot of those round-based game types. That was, you know, never before seen and not too common in console shooters. So let's talk a little about the game types and how big was that? Because there's not only do they play so well, but there's quite a few one-sided objective game types within Halo 2.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'll let Mert speak to the games. As far as the philosophy on that, I'm a big guy that I really care about accessibility. It comes from doing a lot of the UI, the user interface, and all that stuff. And I really want everyone to be focused on a single goal, all headed in the same direction, all on offense, defense, whatever. So that's kind of where that all came about. But Mert, you want to talk more about what we're actually doing?
Yeah. So you can see some of the returning favorites here. Again, we have brought over every single original game mode into the new Halo 2 anniversary, which is really exciting. And going back to kind of the goals and design pillars I talked about, we targeted a bunch of other game modes too that we wanted to add that really kind of fed into the whole the spirit of teamwork, the spirit of tactics. And all that type of stuff. So Ricochet, we brought over Ricochet, was one of the first things that we thought of, one of the first games we thought of to bring over from in this case, from H4 into H2, and it just plays fantastic. Ricochet was incredibly fun in Halo 4, but now with dual-wield SMGs, with everything going on, and with the kind of the movement speed, the more kind of deliberate just the more deliberate movement speed and everything, it's just really shown, I think, even more in Halo 2 than it did in H4. Something else that's really exciting is we have Race. Race is back. Yeah. With a huge number of game mode options.
You know,
added to it.
I had to race in Halo 2, but I had to cut it, so I'm glad it's back.
Yep. And that kind of goes back to a lot of the wish list. We kind of call it director's cut. That's kind of really how we treated this whole particular project is treat it like a director's cut, almost like, you know, Halo 2.5 or Halo 2 ++ is really how we kind of really thought about it. And everyone's really kind of glommed onto that and really just been excited. And that's just what everyone has just been so excited about is, you know, we're going to take Halo 2, which is fantastic, and do everything that we can to make it better. You know, another fan favorite, not just a fan favorite, but one that was really, you know, created by the fans and made popular. You know, and is now, you know, formalized in Halo 2 multiplayer anniversary, so SWAT. And here's one that I'm really excited about, Infection. So this is old school Halo 2 Infection. You can swap out your weapons. You can do all types of customizations to it. We really went with old school Infection with this. And everyone's just been having an absolute blast with it.
Cool.
That's good.
Well, thank you, David. I think you mentioned the director's cut, and that's, I think, if we want to, we're running close on time, but if we want to talk about, both Max and David, some of the director's cut items that we do have on this list on this right-hand side are pretty cool.
Yeah.
You want to speak to this?
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like Andy said, we're running a little short on time, so I want to get through this stuff pretty quickly. So improvements and additions. We talked about, you know, modernizations, and, you know, everyone always gets a little scary. That means we're going to pull stuff over from other games or other, you know, other titles. Modernizations thus just means really taking advantage of a lot of stuff that we have now that we didn't have 10 years ago. Improved spawns, you know, more robust feedback systems, you know, and really more power to customize game modes than we ever did before. I want to talk a little bit about weapons. So really, I think a really good example of one of those director's cut or one of those kind of wish list things was the assault rifle. The assault rifle was, you know, wasn't in the multiplayer game. So what really worked out well with that was we felt like we were really lacking, when we go back and get all this feedback that I talked about, we looked at the weapons and went, you know, we could really use some more mid-range weapon options. And the assault rifle just slid right in there. In fact, the assault rifle is actually on Ascension in the big tower on the second floor. And it's just worked out really well to really give players something to kind of balance against the BR and the sniper rifle and even the SMG to a certain degree. So something else that's kind of really exciting is we've tuned the Magnum. We've tuned it across all the weapons as well as in dual wield. And tuning just means we've upped the damage a little bit. And it's actually really worked out well. It's worked out really well. Really well. And we know it's been working great when we see people actually select that option in weapon sets.
When people actually use it, we know it's working great.
Yes. Yeah. We're just going, man, people aren't using the Magnum. What can we do to get people
Mongoose,
to
just 'cause we're running
Yeah,
out of time.
let's on the Mongoose. So one thing I want to talk about is the Mongoose. So the Mongoose was a major feature that Max wanted in Halo 2. And we put it in, and it's just been fantastic to have the Mongoose running around in Halo 2. There's some additional vehicles and stuff that we're going to talk about, I think, at a later date, Dennis?
Yep.
Yeah. But I think there is one that I definitely want to talk about now.
Did you want to show this one?
Yeah, you want to show something?
Let's show
Yeah,
this
but
one.
tell us a little bit about it, David.
So what's better than a mongoose? A mongoose with guns.
Yeah.
We talk about changes that have got to be an overwhelming success. I can think of no other change than adding guns to the mongoose.
Yes, that's true.
Plus, it has like the coolest name ever. And speaking of incredibly successful additions, it's kind of hard to play Gun Goose CTF without a Gun Goose. So that's a new game mode that we're doing. Something completely new to Halo, no one's ever done before. You are basically on a Gun Goose and you're playing CTF, and it's one of the most fun experiences that I've had in any Halo game ever. It's insane, especially when you see a fleet of gun geese flying over a hill. It's just been really fantastic, really fun.
Awesome, yeah, we just shooting that around is pretty awesome, and what it adds to the sandbox is really great too, right? Because you have the ghosts and the hogs with gunners running around, but to see people kind of lone wolfing and just flying over hills through the on the gun goose is
And you
pretty
can
awesome.
still have the passenger on it, so you've got effectively 3 guns, maybe 4 if you're dual willing. It's
right.
awesome.
Yeah, it's
You're welcome.
It is definitely a fun vehicle to use. Something I didn't get to cover that I wanted to quickly cover is what role concept plays in the design. For example, we just saw a little sketch of the gun goose on a project like this where Halo 2, like we said, is so defined of how that multiplayer needs to play. How does concept start playing in when you want to bring in new things?
In terms of concept, really after design and art get together and we kind of come up with our general visuals and our themes and stuff, we really just start concepting right away. And it's incredibly important.
It's hugely integral.
Yeah.
We don't do anything art-wise without concepting it in some form or fashion these days, which is radically different than the way we used to do it back in the day. But I think you might be trying to lead up to something, Andy.
We should show some.
What's this?
Concept.
These are some of our concepts.
So what you guys are seeing here is a piece of concept from a map we haven't announced yet.
Any ideas what map?
Yeah, has anyone guessed it yet?
What?
Come on, this is a
Yell
big
it if you
giveaway,
know
guys.
it. Come on.
I can't hear you.
That's right, guys.
That's
Coag is back.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That was a setup.
I mean, we had to have some place to drive the gun geese.
That's right.
The gun geese seats.
Lots of gun geese.
Yeah, so Coagulation is officially announced as the one of the remastered maps, the second announced remastered map. It'll be available in a Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. And I think David will have a lot more to share on kind of the reimagining of Coag later this summer. We can kind of dig into everything that's being done to that map. I think fans are going to like the new way that it plays. We've only got about 8 minutes, but I'd love to do some quick Q&A. If any of you might have questions, you can line up at the microphones, and we can get to those quickly. And if a Guardian wants to help us get that started right away, that'd be awesome.
No.
Oh, man, that's the line.
Good stuff.
Hi.
Hey!
So will we be able to use different game sandboxes with different levels? So like match Halo 2 sandbox with like Halo 3 maps?
Dennis, will you handle that one?
So the answer to that question is no. The games will play as they originally played. So you won't be able to take one sandbox and apply it to another. But you'll be able to enjoy the games as they existed when they launched.
Cool. I was wondering, are you guys going to be bringing back a Forge world to the game? And if so, is it going to be like multiple maps or one big map?
You mean specifically Forge World within...
Or like a Forge game mode in it?
Yeah, well, so Forge is, Dennis can correct me if I'm wrong, but Forge is confirmed for Halo 3, Halo 4, and Halo 2 Anniversary. So you'll have all the canvases that you had.
Thanks, man.
Awesome,
It's a huge deal. I mean, this is the first time people will be able to forge in Halo 2, the Halo 2 sandbox. And when combined with all the game options and everything we've done, it is just really an enhanced experience. It's
I
fantastic.
didn't know we were talking about that.
Well,
Well, we're going to
we are now, right?
later. Yeah.
But yeah, so any canvases that you remember in Halo 3 and Halo 4 will be available in the Master Chief Collection as well.
Hey, my favorite thing was the Easter eggs in the campaign in Halo 2, like the Scarab gun. I was wondering if things like that were going to be coming back.
Yeah, so definitely. The existing Easter eggs are there, and I think Max is...
So I like these new achievements that we're thinking about too, and it might be kind of interesting to think about maybe we should have some achievements based around those Easter eggs as well, and maybe some new ones.
Yeah.
That could be a good idea.
Something we should think about, Max. Something we should think about.
Hey,
Hey, one of my favorite parts about the Halo games is that you have the ability to customize your own Halo Spartan. And I know in Halo 1 you can only choose one color, but Halo 2 and 3 are similar, and Halo 4 has a bunch load of armor. How is that going to work across all 4 games, seeing that all customizations are pretty different?
So that's a great question, and I'll get back to the idea of what the unified experience that we're thinking about for this game is. We basically want to bring together customization in a really interesting way for this particular game. However, the multiplayer experience and a lot of the customization that feeds into that, we're going to be talking a lot more about that at Gamescom, so we can have more to reveal at that time. Thank you.
Hey,
Regarding the cancel button in Halo 2, are combos like BXR and BXB going to be in?
yeah, so the experience, as Dennis said, is largely as you remember it. And like David said, so post auto update 3 for Halo 2, what that means is your melee damage is higher, your plasma grenade times are shorter, and everything like you remember it. So in Halo 2 Classic, we will have things like the button combos, but in Halo 2 Anniversary, those won't exist.
This is from the top question on Reddit from the user ToonZova.
Hey, ToonZova.
Will there be a bigger Forge budget in Halo 3, 4, and Anniversary?
I don't think we're talking Forge just yet.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that, most likely at either San Diego Comic-Con or Gamescom.
All right, thanks, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello. Hi. One of the favorite things I liked about Halo was the fact that you guys do have like an extended universe. So how is it going deciding that we're going to go into the Arbiter's backstory?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Oh, you're good. How is it tying into the Arbiter's backstory and the larger fiction associated with the entire Master Chief Collection?
So for terminal videos, you will find out a little bit more about the Arbiter, and there's also some cool links to Halo 5 in there. You know, I mean, I hate going into too much detail, but there's a lot of really good information there, a lot that you don't know that you're going to learn. So.
Cool, thank you.
Hey, what's up?
Hi. So I know it's a few years in the future, but will the anniversary theme that y'all guys are having, will that continue into Halo 3 or future Halos? Or is it going to stop at Halo 2?
I think right now we're just focusing on Halo 2 Anniversary and a lot of other projects, Halo 5 Guardians and everything else apart. So right now just that focus is on Halo 2 Anniversary.
Don't forget, though, I mean, these games are running at 60 frames a second, and that's a huge, huge change. To really see it in motion, I think, is pretty amazing. And a lot of these games really look beautiful when you see them on the Xbox One running at that frame rate. So
Yeah.
Cool.
I think you'll appreciate the up-resed feel of all the games, actually.
We got time for probably one or two more.
By any chance, will theater mode be coming back?
So I think, go ahead. You guys want to take this?
Theater mode, yep, it is going to be coming back where it existed before. You'll be able to use it again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the last question. If you guys do have any questions for us, you can swing by our booth, the 343 and Halo booth at 1:30. We're going to have a panel signing where we're all going to be hanging out. You can ask us questions. You can get a free limited edition poster that you can only get there. So this will be the last question, but if you have more, please swing by and say hi to us.
Oh, yeah. So one of my favorite things about Halo Anniversary, the first one, was that the cutscenes were complete reskin. They weren't like different models. And so you mentioned how you're working with Blur to make, like, what we saw in the trailer was it's not the exact same cutscene. It's kind of redone. But will there be an inclusion in the game of like the reskinned cutscenes, or are you only doing the Blur stuff?
So for Blur, everything that they're going to be showing is going to be pre-rendered. For the original, like essentially the exact same cinematics, but using updated models, no, that won't actually exist. So it'll only be the classic cinematics, and then you'll have an awesome pre-rendered version that's going to be like cinematic quality. It'll feel like a movie to you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Rooster Teeth. I want to thank everyone here up on the panel.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
I want to thank I want to thank all of you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
And also, Certain Affinity has a booth at the show. We're launching our
And you've got a game. You've got a game.
Yep, Age of Booty Tactics. So come by, check us out.
Well, thanks, guys.
I have had many names in this long war. The humans knew me as the destroyer. In the Covenant, I was Supreme Commander. The prophets named me Arbiter. And your Master Chief calls me friend. How well do you know your friend, human? And what will you call me when you learn the truth of what I have done?